Hello everyone, and welcome to my new podcast. This podcast is a little bit special for me because it's my very first podcast, and my invitee, my guest is Corina Radu. She's from Solutions4 Impact, creative solutions for better businesses. Corina is founder, mentor, advisor, and sustainability CSR. Local capacity building. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Corina, thank you for accepting my invitation and welcome to my podcast. How are you?
Hello, Andra. Thank you very much for inviting me today. And I have to say you were perfectly right about introducing me. I'm very happy to be part of your podcast, and I hope that today's discussion is going to be a very useful one for everyone who is going to watch us or hear us.
Perfect. I'm very glad that we can see us today. And let's start with your story. How did you start, and how did you get into your current business, current job?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and I started pretty early in my life to realize that I need a purpose in my work. So whenever I was in various jobs and in various roles, working for corporates or companies, I always felt that at some point in time I will try to give a more overarching role to what I'm doing. So in 2012, for example, when I moved to Vienna, I decided that I'm going to look into this. So I started to train myself. I went to a postgraduate learning, and I wanted to learn more about what it means, sustainability, CSR, as you mentioned, so corporate social responsibility. And I was very drawn to projects that have an impact on the environment, but also on the people, because I felt that people need as well a lot of attention and a lot of special actions. So last year I decided that it's the right time to start Solutions4 Impact. And in this organization that it's quite new, we are helping companies but also people to find out what is their sustainability path, what value brings to them, and how to incorporate the goals that are related to the sustainability, but also to a responsible living into their life and into their business.
Yes, but you're talking all the time about sustainability and a sustainable business. What is this about? It's a very new term to me, but I also think to the audience as well.
Yeah, so how can I put it very easily? Sustainability as a definition, it means for the planet, for us as people, to make use of the resources that we have to fulfill our needs, but also to ensure that future generations, our children, our grandchildren, will have enough resources to tackle their needs too. So it brings the concept of responsibility. How can you responsibly consume? How can you responsibly live your life so that those that are coming after you have the same planet? And for me, a sustainable business, it's something that is based on a business model that allows life, that allows this combination between environment and people. Wow. And you cannot have a sustainable business, for example, if you are a business that underpays its employees. Or you're a business if you pollute, or you're a business who pollutes a lot the environment, or you're a sort of business that consumes resources. Yeah? So you can't be in this category. You are a sustainable business if the way how the business model is constructed, it allows that resources are responsibly consumed, that there is a circularity in the business model, so that you're producing goods, and then after the producing of goods you have maybe some waste or maybe some other materials that come again into the production. So this means a circular model, that you use everything that you have from your resources, and that you take care both, as I said before, of the environment and of the people that are around you. So it's very simple, and it's not something really new, because if you think, sustainability has always been with us. If you're asking somebody, how do you manage at home your waste, probably they would say, yes, I tend to select hard paper waste, and bottles I put it separately, and glass it separately. So it's something that actually comes naturally, because we live in an environment where we realize we don't have a lot of resources, we don't have a lot of space for that resources. So it's really not something new, but in the last years has been a lot of emphasis on businesses that were not sustainably managed, let's call it like this, and a lot of businesses went global. Yeah, the globalization that happened a few years ago had a big impact on sustainability. And now, with the current pandemic, we have seen that, for example, globalization was not a solution, because each country realized that it had to be local resources to tackle local needs. Mm-hmm. Right? So whatever we had used to import from China, from this Far East region, was not possible anymore. So every country realized, okay, we need medicine, we need equipment, we need various materials to fight COVID. So why don't we have something to produce it in our local factories in order to tackle our local needs? So I think that with this situation, we are coming back more to the sustainability and the sustainable goals and sustainable indicators that we have to achieve. And I think that maybe today, more than ever, there is this opportunity to come back to these roots and really start thinking, how can we optimize our life in the future so that we can have a more sustainable life and a more sustainable environment, which means businesses, which means products, which means everything around us, infrastructure, mobility, and so on.
Wow, great. I haven't knew the concepts until I get into contact with you and your project. And I also had a look at your projects on the website and thought, wow, that's great. That's the future of business, I guess, because it's such a healthy concept, and you can grow it and make circulations between people which are really well-founded and healthy, and that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Sure.
Absolutely. So I think that with this pandemic, we came back a little bit to the way we were before, maybe a couple of decades before. So when I'm looking around me, I see a lot of businesses that are now thinking how to reopen, how to reopen production, how to invest in people. But in the same time, we have to state the fact that the pandemic has brought us a lot of unemployment and a lot of businesses that closed their doors. And this is really a pity, because people need support and people need to be able to continue with their life. And therefore, in what I'm doing, I'm always trying to acknowledge this fact that perhaps today businesses are really struggling to meet the needs of the day, and perhaps they feel that a sustainable model is not really something that they would have on their plate right now. But I think that I always say there is this opportunity from things that happen, bad things that happen to us, to come up with good solutions for the future. And I always think and try to convince companies and people that there is a lot of future in a more sustainable business and a more sustainable life. Wow. They just have to think about it, and I'm here to support with knowledge and with data to prove that this is really possible, and that will bring not only a change, but will also be performant, will also have more impact on the society. And the companies that decide to really put their sustainability at the core of their business model, they really stand out from the crowd. They really stand out from their competition. So it's something to really think about.
That's really great. And if we are going back in time and we are thinking about your starting point at Solutions for Business, what was your idea in that time when you started your business? Was that the direction you had in your mind?
Yes, that was one part of the business, but also I had in mind that because I'm attracted very much to this topic. I had the opportunity to work before in various businesses. Not all of them were sustainable, and so I realized what are the big sustainability gaps, that companies have. And I also was drawn to the fact that, if I study this, if I am passionate about this, if I call myself a sustainability consultant, a sustainability advisor, then it's also my job to a little bit educate around me. So not only come with solutions and start to pitch various projects, but also I see the role of sustainability experts to educate, to explain what works today and why it will work in the future. To show, like you asked me, what is sustainability? What are the sustainable development goals? And what does it really mean? So I see my role also as a person who can explain these things, who can help also people, not only businesses, get a grip of their more sustainable life. For example, in the past I had an initiative which was called Happy Consumers. And that came out, this is a really nice name, I think. It came out because in 2017 I was surrounded in Vienna and I was thinking, wow, there's a lot of promotion for various products and various businesses and services. Are they really sustainable? And once I was going to do my shopping and I was looking at the product to buy the products that I needed, and I saw a lot of really products that had nothing to do really, so they really were not sustainable. And then I thought, okay, it would be great if consumers like you and me, normal people, those who don't really know a lot about sustainability in the first place, but those who are really interested to buy products that are maybe bio, that are organic, that are good for their family and for themselves, it would be good that these consumers have a platform to meet with those companies that provide these products. So then I started this platform called Happy Consumers, for example, in the past. And then I put the definition of it like, I want that consumers who have sustainability as their value in their life meet with other companies that have the same values, that can provide the same values to them. And that was really something that inspired me, because then I started to look a little bit to find the right businesses and to make a research and to really put in contact those businesses who are sustainable with other sustainable businesses, and that created a sort of network where the consumers could tap into. And that was really, really good. And I felt that was the first moment when I felt, okay, to be sustainable is not easy and it's not an easy road, but it's definitely something that it's doable and it's achievable and useful in the future.
Okay, that's really interesting. I think connected to this is also the term of social entrepreneur. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
And I've been thinking, well, the cause is great, but is there awareness for finance, for paying in this sector, or is that a problem in that background?
Well, it depends. Maybe social entrepreneurship, it's something that it's very important today, because a lot of social entrepreneurs focus on tackling social needs. And unfortunately, how I see it today is that investors do not really have the entire knowledge to invest in social entrepreneurship, because in the past the investors have always had their way how they invest. They have their data, they look at performance, they look at return of investment. So perhaps from the first look at social entrepreneurship or social business, they would say, okay, it's not really something that I want to invest in because the return of my investment is not really big. But there is the concept of impact investing, which is quite new. And this impact investing means that impact businesses, how I call this social businesses, they are for me impact businesses. So impact businesses need impact investors. You can't really address to every investor who probably doesn't care about social impact. So you have to have social impact investors, and this is a growing category of investors who really take care of looking of the social aspect of the business. And I think in the future, more and more companies and more investors will have the opportunity to look to see not only the return of investment, but also the return on impact. And how is it going to affect the society? And slowly, so unfortunately slowly, but I think it's slowly but steadily, these things are going to change in the next couple of years.
Yes, I guess so, because also the values are changing because of the pandemic, and I think that's helping also, because people are changing their mindset. They are not always looking on gaining finance, on making money without taking care of anything, and being careless on nature, on people. They have learned we have to make a change, and I think that will go in that direction in the future too.
Yeah, I think that we have all to agree the fact that, as I said before, a sustainable business, you can't really make it without investing in it. Even if you want to change a business model, or even if you want to make it sustainable from the very beginning, you have to put things in place. So this is money, and sustainability costs. At this point, many investors and many CEOs and business owners say, oh, sustainability costs a lot. Yes, sustainability is an investment, because the way how we do things are not sustainable, and then to make it in a different way, yes, you have to invest maybe in another production process. You have to invest maybe to give more to your people, and so on and so on. And at this moment, everybody has the feeling that, wow, this is a huge investment and I don't have the money for it. But I think that this will change in the future, because there is no, there is no value on how important it is to invest in the environment. I mean, look at the world we live in. You can't really have sustainable businesses in an environment which is destroyed. You can't have happy people, or people who are paid, or using their money where to use it, if the nature is destroyed. So there is really no discussion how important it is to invest in a business that protects the environment, that fights the climate change. But also, on the other hand, if you have a very protected environment, you have people who are unhappy, who are underpaid, who live in it. So again, there is this unbalance, and this has to be tackled. And therefore, I always discuss and try to find solutions that have impact, that create business models, but also that create the impact that is needed to make this balance between natural and social aspects.
Okay, that's great. So I wanted to ask you also, what are your tasks at Solutions for Business? You said you're teaching people, you're raising awareness, you're creating business models. What else are you doing there?
Yeah, what else I'm doing? It's good. So I am also creating and managing projects that are building local capacity. Wow. And you mentioned this before, and probably you're going to ask me, what is building local capacity about? Well, imagine that there are a lot of companies who are now maybe producing or establishing new branches or new operation facilities everywhere in the world. And my role in this is to be in the middle between what business wants and what the social and the community wants. So for many years I worked in CSR, and there I was giving this input both to companies and both to communities about what are the needs and expectations from each side. I always looked at the company side, and I knew that they have to bring operations on the market. They want maybe to employ people from that region. They want to develop economically that specific part of the country. But also on the other side, that was the social expectations. So what is the community, the people living there wanting? They want an environment which is protected. They want jobs. They need maybe schools. They need maybe infrastructure. So all this, I was putting them together, and my job is to create solutions that really bring these needs and this fulfillment of needs in the right place. It has to be a very authentic space to discuss, and coming up with solutions that really represent a win-win for both parties, both for companies and for society. So I'm looking into managing such projects, discussing with all the stakeholders involved, and coming up with the best solutions, and of course implementing these projects and bringing these win-win results.
That's really, really great. I really like what I'm hearing, but I also want to point out the challenges you are facing in your job. You already mentioned some of the challenges, because people are not aware of sustainability. There's not a concept in the people minds to say, okay, I'm looking for sustainable products. So what are other challenges you're facing?
Maybe I mentioned before that there is quite, we live quite in a world where sometimes, let me put it very directly, we forget to think for ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
Especially when we go outside and when we see the offers and the promotion that is done to various products, services, that's something that really captures us, and we sometimes forget to think for ourselves. And I think that's a big challenge that we have to come back to those needs that we have, and really to think about maybe, for example, our behavior. How do we consume things? How do we buy things? Also, I think we as people should exercise more our voice, because civil society, we have a lot of voice that we currently do not use, especially when it comes to asking businesses what are they doing for environment, asking maybe for more transparency, for more information. And there is quite a growing trend today among consumers to ask for more information about where those products, for example, are produced, what does it contain, how was it obtained, and so on. So there's a lot of information. Also, consumers want to know more about the involvement of those companies. So are they promoting any social projects? Do they donate to any cause for helping the environment? So this is also quite important. I think that it's our job as people to learn a little bit more and to start opening our eyes more around us, to see really things for what they really are. And the challenge is that we need to give more time to this, and perhaps we don't have now the right time to do this. But I believe in small steps. I do not really believe in big steps that change the world, because they might not happen. But I believe in small steps, both for individuals and also for companies, to start with small actions to change for what it matters to them. And I always try to convince businesses when we talk about sustainable development, and I'm saying, okay, sustainable development goals, for example, are a good platform to implement sustainable actions. But everybody says about them, yes, there are 17 goals, they are written in a certain language. I can't do all. And I'm answering, yes, as a person, you can't do all. Yes, you can't be a very good consumer, you can't be a very good expert. So you can't really do everything perfectly. But it's important to find out where you can have the biggest impact. So this is valid for both individuals and companies. I always say you don't have to do it all, but you have to find out where can your business and when can your voice and your force have the biggest impact, and select those where you can impact the most, and those you cannot have that much impact, but maybe a more moderate one would be the second priority. But focus on something that you can do, the best. Like you say in your career focus, as a young junior starting your career, you say focus on something that you do and make it the best, and that would be your calling, perhaps. So in the same thing, it's valid also for a business. Focus on those things that you can do the best, implement those sustainable goals that you can have the biggest impact, and then you can see results, and you can see benefits in the future. Another challenge I see is that when we talk about sustainable development, especially for businesses, there are no big achievements on short term. We're speaking only about implementing things that will prove results in a couple of years. So maybe in 1 decade, maybe until 2030, like everybody says. So this is difficult to assess, and then gives you the motivation to say, hey, I have time, I still have a decade of implementation. But this is not right, because in this decade, you don't know what will happen. So as a business, you have to prepare today when you still have the resources and you still have the time, because that will take some time, and you will see the results maybe in a couple of years, maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years. But if you're really committed to sustainable development, then you have to start as soon as possible, using the resources that you have, and trying to, not to start, but then go slow and lazy. Start and continue what you're doing until you achieve those results. And this is difficult because, as I said, it needs some money, it needs resources, it needs a different mindset, and people still have a mindset that today it's more towards let's consume, let's use, and maybe not so much about let's protect and let's maybe save for later. But these things are really changing right now, and especially I see at the younger generation, the environmental activists, very young, I see today that they have maybe the right mindset for this. They will grow up perhaps to be the kind of generation that we need in order to fight against the climate change, for example. And so these are various challenges, because we are complex as people. We can't really focus on one or another. Being complex, there are complex challenges, but I'm sure that if we really want, we can tackle all of these challenges and solve them in the near future.
That's really great, because you have to start one day and it will take a long period, as you said, but it's important to start, as in every business, I guess. You have to make the first step, and it's very important that you and your colleagues are doing this. It's a really great thing.
Yeah, it's not easy, but we want to do this, and I personally want to do this. And I started with working with a few startups. I also work with some small, medium enterprises and some corporates. There are various challenges, and there's a different way how to tackle sustainable development for each of them. But I'm happy to see that most of the cases there is this wish to do and to implement sustainable development, and then there's only time and dedication and perseverance, to work and to continue the work that we started. But we have to start it now. That's true.
Okay, we have talked about the challenges so far, but what are your goals with Solutions for Impact?
Well, as I said maybe before, I see my role as as an educator,
Mm-hmm.
not only as a consultant, but also as an educator. So one of the goals is to change people's mindset.
Okay.
It's not easy, but yeah, I'm perseverant and I'm going into this direction. So one of the goals is to have people mindset in a different way, that they acknowledge more that sustainable development is something we need, although it takes a lot of time, it takes money and so on. Another goal that I have is to increase the number of sustainable businesses.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not hard, but it takes a lot of people who are involved to decide and to define a more sustainable model. There is always this rush, to create, for example, for startups, to create a model that can bring a lot of success. And I see this, for example, if we look in the technology industry, there are a lot of apps, there are a lot of startups that are doing things to help optimize our life. But how sustainable they are, I don't know, because we use it as people, but to use those apps, to use those services, we need a lot of things. We need communication, we need technology, we need internet, we need, and is it really making us better? I don't know. So that's something that I question myself sometimes, why do we need this instead of maybe starting to focus more on ourselves? So what I'm doing today, for example, I've started a project that helps companies evaluate how they are staying with sustainability issues. And I've looked into, for example, what is the biggest sustainability certification today. And that's the B Corp certification, which is quite evaluating the environmental side, the social side, the customers, the suppliers, and everything from a company. So very recently, I started to offer this to various companies and even startups to evaluate what are their sustainability gaps. And with this certification, which starts with a self-assessment, for example, which can be done together with me, then during the self-assessment, we will see what are the gaps and we will look into that. And we will also start finding solutions how to close those gaps. And once you have this sustainability certification, then this is like an award. It proves, for many companies, it proves that you are a sustainable company. And then you have to keep it because the certification is renewable at 2 years. So you have to really maintain that level that you achieved. So what I offered starting very recently was to do this self-assessment with me, because that's quite a process and maybe that's not easy for somebody who wants to do it but do not know where to start. And in this way, I think you can say we are both learning, because I'm also learning how this is going to do, but also I think that's a really big value and help for companies that want to do something but do not know where to start. And B Corp certification is one of the highest certification they can have.
Yeah.
So I'm focusing on this at the moment, and as I said, other things. And I hope that in the future I will have more things to tell you about what I'm doing and more goals.
I would be very, very glad to hear more about it. But I want at this point to tell me 2 or 3 recommendations you are giving to someone who's starting in your field. How should he or she take the first steps into...
Who's starting in this field of sustainability?
Yes.
Well, if you're passionate, so the first would be if this is a passion for you. It's good if you do things with passion. That's definitely something that will make what you're doing a success. Yeah. So if you're passionate about it and you want to research more about sustainability, there's a lot written on this topic. Find that niche where you can bring the best impact in sustainability, because sustainability is quite a topic. We can talk here about environment, we can talk of people, we can talk of everything. So find that niche. For example, I found the niche in, as I told you, in building and managing the capacity building programs for local communities. So that's something where I feel I'm really good, because I really like to put together all these parties, negotiate and find the best solution that is a win-win for both. And so the second would be, find this niche and try to go into details and try to make it your specific value added to any business you want to consult later on. Mm-hmm. And the third would be, don't give up, because like everything, there would be people who will tell you, we can't do this, this is not achievable, it's too much, and so on. So try to be positive, try to keep it going. Don't give up when there are a lot of barriers in your work. For example, if we leave people aside, there are a lot of barriers when it comes to legislation. For example, many companies cannot really benefit from sustainability because they do not have a legislation in place to help them. Maybe they do not have financial incentives. They do not have maybe some incentives when it comes to taking loans from banks for social investment, for social businesses. There is not so much. So why they should do this? Because they are not really protected. They are not really impulsed. They don't get any benefits. So also, these are quite big barriers that are going to change in the future through different policies that are now on the table of European, of EU, but also in other places. So, these are the three things. Find your passion, find your niche, and don't give up, because if you do this, then you will be successful, I believe so.
Okay. And what do you think is your unique ability that helps you to make the steps in that direction and to achieve what you have achieved until now?
I think that maybe it's one of the advices that I really gave earlier, which means don't give up. Okay. I think that perseverance is something that I follow in the things I'm doing, but in the same time, there is a sort of belief that I'm a positive person. I believe that things can be better when they are wrong, when they are bad. I believe that working together we can solve a lot of things. And I'm also, looking at the whole picture. When I do something, I'm always looking what will be the effects, what will be the whole influence that is going to have. Because when you're starting to solve maybe one problem, you can create another in another place. So I'm always looking at this overview and try to really listen to all things involved and all parties involved, either they are stakeholders or organizations, and trying to really listen to understand their message. So maybe I'm a good listener and I'm perseverant, and these are maybe two traits that helps me going through the world we live today.
That's really great. Is there something I forgot to ask about during this interview? Would you like to add something?
To add something, that would be maybe that I'm proud to be coming from Romania. Yes. Maybe not a lot of people know this, but I'm originally from Romania, and I'm very proud to be able to represent my country in a way. But also, working in Vienna opened a lot of my eyes on what it means to be Romanian abroad, and what it means to be a better, a true Romanian, a good Romanian. You learn this only when you are maybe working abroad, working outside your comfort zone, working outside your network of friends and family, and then you realize what makes you that specific citizen. I am also involved in I wanted to share this with you, that I'm also involved in an organization that it's called Innovation for Politics. Innovation for Politics, it's an organization that helps young entrepreneurs that have ideas how to change the social aspect, how to create more citizenship, and citizenship is also one part of the sustainable development goals. So how to create more active citizens, how to bring more awareness, and how to participate in consultations, in discussions that are done in order to take decisions that affect us all, because politics affect us all, in individuals or businesses. So I'm proud to be part of the jury this year that will assess few of the programs and projects that are part of the competition. And I will come back to you maybe with the one who is winning, just to give an example of maybe innovation. Innovation in politics means innovation of business also. So politics and business always have to be together. Otherwise, as I said before, maybe things do not have the green light everywhere. So I will come back to you maybe later in the year and give you more examples about that.
We can talk again about it. I'm really, really glad to hear more details, and I'm excited to...
Sure, I will tell you about it.
I really, really like that topic, and I guess all people are interested into that direction, and it's important to talk about it, as you said.
Yeah, I'm very proud to be selected in the jury, and I'm very curious to see what would be the initiatives that are going to be part of the competition, because it's actually a competition at EU level, and I'm looking forward to see how the sustainability of these projects is going to be achieved. Because my part in this jury is to assess how they are involving citizens and how they are sustainable. So that would be something that I'll be looking into, and I'm really curious and looking forward to this.
Are people going to subscribe to that competition, or is it already finished with the project?
No, the competition will take place, I think, in a month or a couple of months. Mm-hmm. I think that now there is a phase of submitting to this platform, Innovation in Politics, the projects that are going to be presented. So every country has a certain number of projects that they want to submit, and the jury, which is international, is looking into different aspects. There are 5 categories as far as I know, but 2 that interest me are, as I said, citizenship, and so how they involve people to decision making, and how sustainable they are, because good intentions and good initiatives are welcomed, but they also have to have a certain level of responsibility and sustainability in it. So I know that now there's a time to submit, I guess, until the end of the month, and then there'll be the time for the jury to look on these initiatives and have a voting, and then there will be the results.
Okay, maybe you are sharing with me a link, and I can put it under this podcast. Maybe some people are likely to participate too there.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. Yes, I will give you the information. I'll give it.
That would be great. And the last question: so where can our listeners connect with you online? Do you have certain platforms you're using, or how can they get in touch with you?
I'll be very happy to connect with the listener and the viewers through LinkedIn. We can share my link to my LinkedIn profile. I also want to share with the listeners the address of my website, and there I have a special page which is called Learning About Sustainable Development, where I've put some of learning materials, such as articles that I wrote this year, some webinars about maybe product sustainability, for example, or really what it means, sustainable model for businesses. So I would really like to share this, because I'm going to build this with more. Right now there is maybe not so much, but I'm working to do more and to bring more learning in a not conventional way, because I'm not a fan of lecturing. I more prefer the discussions and having people tackle the problems that they have in that moment. So I'm inviting people to come there and maybe read or listen more about sustainability. And in this way, we all learn what is maybe good for us and how we can optimize our life at the end.
Yeah, that would be a really great starting point for those who do not know that much about sustainability to make their first ideas. And that's really, really important.
Yeah, this is also my intention, to help people understand why I'm doing this, but what it means that they could also take in their lives, to, as I said, to try to educate a little bit more and maybe explain things which I'm sure that everybody knows, but they maybe just don't think about this all the time.
Okay, Corina, thank you for the discussion and thank you for the time you have spent for this podcast. I'm so glad that we had the discussion, and I'm really excited to learn more about your activity and with the project we have talked at the end of the podcast. If we could have another discussion, that would be nice.
Yes, I'm absolutely, Andra. So we can have another discussion whenever you want, maybe in a couple of months, when I can bring you more information about what I'm doing and maybe new projects. It was a real pleasure to talk to you, and I had a lot of fun during this podcast. So thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you also, Corina. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day as well. Goodbye and take care. Stay safe.
Yeah, you too.